Hi guys, today I want to talk about nerve length and when you are trying to figure out, are you having hamstring pain, back pain, or is that pain maybe coming from the nerve that runs down behind the back of your leg? So a lot of times we get this pain if we've been sitting on the couch for a while watching a show, you've been sitting in the car for a 2-3 hour drive, or you've been sitting at your desk kind of working for 4 or 5 hours, and now you're getting this tightness is what it's described as sometimes, or sometimes even a pain that goes down the leg or little pins and needles, feels like your leg's falling asleep. So one thing we want to look at, again, we call it a neural tension test. So it doesn't mean there's any damage to the nerve, it just means it's maybe more sensitive, a little bit irritated. And how do we figure out if it's the nerve that's causing your pain? So a little simple test you can do, we call this the slump tension test. So I'm going to sit in my chair, kind of rest my hands behind my back, and I'm going to slouch. This is the one time in therapy we let you do that. But starting at your neck, kind of tucking the chin, slouching through the back, so you're lengthening that nerve across your neck and your spine, and then I'm going to extend one leg. As I do that, now I'm lengthening the nerve down the back of my leg, and I can try to pull my toes toward my nose. If you feel that same sensation, that same tightness, burning, pulling, numbness that you feel when you sit, now one thing you can try to do is lift your head. If that pain goes away, that tightness goes away, the length in my hamstring, the tension and stretch on my calf hasn't changed, but if lifting my head up makes that pain go away, it's a good indication that that discomfort is coming from the nerve instead of the muscles. So how do we fix it? So you found out it is maybe that nerve that's bothering you. So how can you fix it? The first easy, kind of simple thing you can do is change the posture in your sitting position. It might even be best, again, if you've been sitting for a while, slouched for a while, watching a movie for a while, just get up. Give your back a little break, give a little bit of pressure off the discs, the tissue in your low back, and then go back to what you were doing. Or again, if you're sitting and you notice you've been kind of slouching back, can you sit up? Again, that can take some of that pressure off the nerve from the spine and down the back of the leg. Sometimes I like to talk to people about kind of a perched sitting position. If you sit at the front of your chair, now I can kind of bring my pelvis forward a little bit, again taking pressure off that nerve. So instead of it being rounded and my nerve being lengthened over the spine and the hip, I can give it a little bit of slack at that pelvis. Tuck my leg back, I can sit and work in this position for a while. Again, it's not always about the perfect posture, it's just about not being in the same position for too long. Nerves like movement and blood flow. Another thing you can do, sometimes I talk to people about, is their sitting position. Can you put a little bit of support in your chair, especially if you're going to be in a car ride for a couple hours or on the plane? If your couch at home is low, soft, kind of like this chair, I've talked to people about taking an extra cushion, maybe elevating that seat height. So again, now my pelvis isn't dipped so low, I'm up a little bit, and that takes some of that pressure off the nerve if you're going to be sitting in a specific spot for a while. The other thing, we talked about neural tension, nerve sensitivity. How do we get that nerve to be less sensitive? Well, we tease it. We put it on a little bit of slack and then take it off. Again, finding that point where you were at in your test that you started feeling a little bit of that discomfort. Maybe it's just when you rounded your back. So maybe that's where you start. You do 8 to 10, kind of upper back rounding. Go to that point where you start to feel that tension, that nerve turn on, and then give it some slack. Maybe it took you all the way to that point where you pulled that toe up. So maybe this is where I start. I do some toe pumps. If that's uncomfortable, doesn't feel good, you can put that nerve on a little tension at one end and then take it off tension at the other. So you can point the toe, lift the head. Again, it's just about getting movement and blood flow specifically to that tissue. As you do those, we like to recommend 10 to 15 at a time. But it's more about frequency, getting blood flow throughout the day. So maybe every hour when you're sitting at your desk. Maybe 3 to 5 times a day is a goal you can start with. If you do it more frequently early on, you're going to start to see that sensitivity come down sooner. And then you maybe don't have to do it as often going forward. All right, give it a shot.